Gilbert,
Hey man. Hi
how are
Dominic.
you? Great to see you.
Good. Absolutely. Very good to see you.
Yeah, it's
First
all
Instagram live for me, so I think it's working.
great. Yeah, no, it looks great. You look great. And that's I always tell the guests that's the first thing I always say. Okay, technology works. We're good.
Check. Yeah. Good. How are you doing?
I'm great. Remind me where you're located.
I'm based in Amsterdam, the Netherlands.
Amsterdam. Okay, but are you originally from Iceland or one of those places?
No, I'm not. I've been to Iceland. I was in Iceland 3 or 4 years ago, but it was just for a holiday. It's
Ah,
a fantastic place. You should visit if you haven't been.
yeah, you're actually funny enough because I work at SAS, and I have global colleagues, and I had a meeting with someone from Amsterdam recently, and she told me the same thing. So now I have more and more incentive to travel. So yeah, I like the sound of that. We'll have to explore
Awesome.
that.
Yeah, there's so much to explore.
Great, great. Well, yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. So this is being recorded. We're going to post a recording after, and people are going to trickle in. That's kind of how the lives work. So
Perfect.
everyone, hello to everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of Live with the Maverick. As always, I'd like to, for the benefit of those of you who may not be familiar with my channel, I'd like to provide a brief overview of the series. My name is Dominic Lee. A year ago, I founded Maverick Actuary, a content community, and our mission is to maximize the impact and value of actuaries and quant professionals on a global scale. So the goal of this series is to expose our community to individuals who embody the values of our brand and mission. And today, the theme of today's discussion is going to be people skills. And we're very excited to have with us Gilbert Eichenbaum. Hopefully, I got that pronunciation right. I've been practicing it.
It's about right. Yeah.
Great, great. The founder of MindSpeaking. MindSpeaking is an organization that focuses on bridging the gap between data and business. And another important addition to his resume, the author of People Skills for Analytical Thinkers, which is a very insightful read and very easy to read, might I add. So welcome to Live with the Maverick, Gilbert. And without further ado, I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself. So who is Gilbert Eichenbaum?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Gilbert Eichelboom. I'm based in Amsterdam. I see even Arne Peters joined. He's a friend of mine from Hamburg. Hi Arne.
Great.
Um,
Hi.
so my background is mainly in data analytics, and I really enjoyed working in data analytics. But I also noticed it's so important to not only have data skills and technical skills, but also other types of skills. And I can remember more than once that people did not listen to the data insights I had to present. And it was pretty frustrating for me. But I also learned how important communication skills are. And that's why I founded MindSpeaking, because I saw many other people struggling with this and being challenged by not having the right communication skills to communicate their analytical work. And that's why I founded MindSpeaking, and that's what I'm doing now, giving training to data scientists and analysts to help them tell stories with data and communicate with stakeholders.
Thank you. No, thank you so much for that introduction. And might I add another credit to you. You are certainly one of the top 5 most reposted people on my platform. I certainly repost your LinkedIn insights on my Instagram story on a daily basis. So my audience knows you very well. And I think we're
Wow,
very
cool.
much.
I didn't know about that. I'm not so active on on Instagram, but that's nice to know.
Yes, yes. No, because we're very much aligned in terms of how we think. And that's a good segue to my next question is, you talked a little bit about your motivation, and I consider you to certainly be a thought leader in helping analytical minds to be more effective when we think of communication. So it's one thing to have energy around a topic, but talk me a little bit about where your inspiration from writing the book came from. That's a massive investment, and I'm sure it's paying off. But yeah, tell me a little bit more about the motivation behind the book.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, actually, the plan was not to write a book, but I was on a 6-month sabbatical trip around the world, and one of the places where was Iceland. You talked about Iceland,
Yes.
so that's when I visited Iceland. And slowly, after a few months of traveling, I wanted to do something productive to contribute, or apart from all the fun stuff that I was doing and visiting different places, I also wanted to create something. So I thought, okay, when I come back from that sabbatical, I want to start my own company, but then I need to create awareness, right? I need to find leads and see how people are gonna pay for my services. So I also thought, okay, how can I already start helping people with this kind of this topic? So then my plan was to write 10 or 20 pages, a PDF document that I would share on my website, and so that they can help some people. So I just started to brain dump all the lessons I had learned until that moment in my career, what I had learned about presenting, about communication skills, about collaborating with others. But slowly that PDF document started to grow and grow until it was a few hundred pages. And then I thought, okay, this is not going to be a PDF document. It's going to be too big and no one is going to read so many pages from a screen. So maybe this is going to be a book. And that's the moment I involved an editor and worked with several professionals to make the book better. And in the meantime, because you asked me where did you get the inspiration, I talked to a lot of data professionals and technical people and also leaders in the industry to understand what exactly are the challenges of analytical thinkers. Because of course, I got a lot of inspiration from myself, my own challenges, but I also want to have an outside perspective. And by interviewing all those people, I got even more motivated and more clarity on what the book should be about. And that helped me to create the book as a whole.
That's wonderful. So it started with a post. There was a vacation, which maybe helped to open your mind. That's a great story and certainly an inspiration for me. I've been meaning to kind of on my book journey as well. So certainly, thank you for inspiring me by taking this step.
Awesome that you're gonna write a book as well. It's,
yes. So
is it going to be about this topic we're talking about right now? Or
there's certainly going to be some themes to that. So some of the things that I'm very interested in is like the media angle, really using the power of media, kind of like as a megaphone, and then being able to tell more compelling stories, and then do that with a strategic mindset. So there certainly are lots of overlaps in terms of our themes there. So
awesome.
That's inspiration. Now, on that point, and you touched on this in the beginning, and I think everyone who's going to see this would agree with me. Like, why do you think that people who are like analytical thinkers are not known for their people skills? Very open-ended question.
Yeah, I really like that question, and I think the main reason is because analytical thinkers like to think, right? They like to analyze and to think, and the more you're in your head, the less space you have to connect with the person in front of you and to really listen and to understand what is important to the other person instead of everything that is in your own head. So I think this is the main reason, because the more you're in your own head, the less ability you have to connect with other people. And I think communication all starts with two things. First, understanding yourself, and then two, understanding other people. And understanding other people is very difficult if you're just in your head thinking about what you're about to say next, or if it's going to be funny enough what you're about to say, or if you're over analyzing the situation. And to me, I've become a better communicator when I dropped the over analyzing mindset and just try to go with the flow a little bit. And I think this is very difficult for many analytical thinkers, to just drop all the preparation, the thinking, and just go in and go with the flow and be confident that you will be able to manage situations even if they're unexpected.
Yes, certainly, especially you brought up a great point. When analytical thinkers are engrossed with and overwhelmed with some of the technical details, it does limit our capacity to have like impact and value for sure.
Exactly, and there's also something else I want to raise there. So there's the concept of the curse of knowledge. So if you have a lot of knowledge, and many analytical thinkers do have a lot of knowledge, then it's very hard to understand a situation without that knowledge, right? It's very hard to empathize with someone who doesn't have all that knowledge. So you're basically cursed by that knowledge. It's a very interesting,
right.
It's a very interesting experiment that they've done as well, but at Stanford. So they had a group of tappers and a group of listeners. And the group of tappers, they needed to tap a song like this. And the other people needed to guess what the song was about. And the tappers, the people that were tapping, of course, they heard the song in their head. So even though the song was very simple, like happy birthday, other people could not hear it. And I think it's the same with analytical thinkers, where they have a lot of information in their head, but it's very hard to explain new concepts if you're not aware how different the knowledge level is between you and your audience.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to look that story up. I'm sure that's well documented online. You said it was Stanford, right?
Yeah, Stanford. So it's called The Curse of Knowledge. It's great. It's a great concept, and I think it's very useful to be aware about it.
Was that? Did you say the curves as in CURVES?
The curse. The curse.
How do you spell that?
CURSE.
The curse. Okay, got it.
The curse of knowledge.
Got it. Okay, understood. Yeah, no, I'll be sure to look that up. Now, I wanted to ask a little bit, because I was even just looking over the book before we spoke. The one of the chapters I like is a chapter on influence. This is something even from my very first insurance job. I've noticed within my community, actuaries and some of the data folks, they don't focus as much on influence and understanding someone else's perspective, where they're coming from, and trying to align that with ours, and so we can have better impact. So any thoughts on that part of the book? That was one of my favorite parts, the chapter on influence.
Yeah. To me, the most important thing about influence is that it's not about giving more data or more details or trying to force your perspective, but instead taking a step back and try to understand what matters for the other person. So it all starts with asking a lot of questions. So basically it's ask, validate, and then persuade. What many people try to do, they just try to convince people without knowing what is important to them. But of course, that's very difficult. So first you need to ask questions and understand what is important to them. And then validate, check your understanding, and also say that you see it's important to them, right? To make sure that they know that you've listened. And then the third step is to integrate what you want and what they want, and to find the overlap there. And then persuasion is not so difficult. But if you try to make someone do something that is not in his or her interest or not aligned with his goals, then it's going to be very difficult. But if you ask questions to understand what they need, validate, check their understanding, and then persuade, then it's much more easy.
Yeah, if there's one thing that anyone can take away, whether it's from your book or just in general, is that the importance of knowing your audience and being able to tailor your message to their needs and what they want. And it makes me think, and I'm maybe going off script a bit here, but it makes me think of, and I asked, and I guess this is, I wonder why we don't teach some of this stuff in school, or at least introduce this from a younger age. We focus so much on the scholastic piece of the puzzle, the equations, the proofs from a mathematical perspective. And do you have any thoughts on that, on why you think it's so hard, why there's reluctance to kind of introduce this stuff at an earlier stage, so people don't have to find this out when they're 10 years into their career?
To me, I really don't understand it, because I'm very passionate about the subject, and I really think we should include more courses about collaboration and communication early on in primary school or in high school. Because to me, it's very strange that we learn about this stuff when we start working, or sometimes in universities, because the world is getting so complex and everyone knows only a little piece of the whole puzzle in the world, right? With all the technological advancements, it's going so quick. So the only way to make something great is by collaborating with other people and by communicating with other people who are by definition completely different to you. So that's why I think it's so important to include these type of skills in early on. And I would love to strive for including them early on, and it's something I'm also thinking about for the longer term. What role can I play there,
Sure.
to make that happen?
I think over time too, and you're certainly a trendsetter in this arena, but the moral literature that we have, and not just necessarily books. I think with the way that content is evolving digitally and multi-platform, I'm hoping that there will be opportunities to integrate this type of content and educational material into formal education somewhere, because believe me, we need it. We definitely need it.
I
Yeah,
think so too, at least through Instagram, which probably has a bit of a younger audience compared to LinkedIn.
sure. Yeah.
I think you're doing your piece already.
Yeah, I'm trying to play my small role however I can play it. So yeah, thank you for that. But yeah, and on that note, you did mention that there's that Instagram. We do have a lot of early in career actuaries and quants on who are going to be seeing this. So my next question is like, what? I know you have many tips in your books and from your career, but what is one tip for analytical thinkers to improve their people skills, and why do you think that that is important?
Yeah, I think the most important piece is it all starts with self-awareness. So my tip would also be around that. So increase your self-awareness, and of course everyone knows that feedback is a big piece of it, but I don't think we ask it enough. And I understand why, because it can be scary. But I think if we start with very a small piece, not just asking about their personality or how we are as a person, but maybe about a small part we have done, about an analysis or about the presentation or anything that feels a bit safer. And a very useful framework that I've benefited from is the framework of asking 3 questions to your colleague or your friends. What should I keep doing? What should I start doing? And what should I stop doing? So keep doing is what you're already good at and what you should keep doing. What you should start doing is something that people might identify as a strength of you, but you're not doing yet. And stop doing is something, of course, you might want to stop doing by, for example, giving many details in a presentation. And my experience is that by framing it in these type of questions, you get much more concrete feedback that is useful to implement.
I like the way you break that down into the 3 question framework. A very natural follow-up I have to that, and to full disclosure, I even have these challenges like as I interact with my audience on Instagram, because of course I'm curating the content for them. Do you have any thoughts on like when as you're asking those questions, you're asking someone for feedback, the person, they may be a business partner, but in some cases they may be a new business partner, they may be unfamiliar to you, or you may be unfamiliar to them. Like, how do you get them, more comfortable with giving you honest, candid feedback? Because people can be uncomfortable with telling someone something they don't know, something constructive.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. And I think it's important because if you don't emphasize that you're really open to feedback, to honest feedback, people might hold back. And to me, what I do is I continually express and emphasize that honest feedback will help me. When I'm building my business, I always ask a lot of feedback from other people, from clients, from everyone. And I always say, like, the most honest feedback, the most raw feedback will help me most. So please don't hold back, don't sugarcoat, just tell me. And I think that will help to people to open up and to understand that it's safe. And actually, the more honest people will be, the more benefit they will bring. So I think that will help them to open up.
Great. No, that's very helpful and something I'll certainly keep in mind. So I know in terms of your journey itself, I know you're doing you founded My Speaking, you wrote the book, but I've seen this on your LinkedIn before. Like I know that like many people, you had a 9 to 5 before. So I'm just curious to know, you had a very interesting journey from then to where you are now. So are there any valuable lessons from your career and your journey that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah. And the first thing that comes to mind is that everyone is winging it, Everyone is pretending to be, to know a lot or to be confident in certain areas. But everyone worries, me too, about my business, about the direction I'm taking it. And I think this is very important because for many years in my career, I was a bit too cautious, to holding back or presenting an idea with not enough confidence, even though I thought it was a good idea. So for me, it would be very valuable if you don't hold back so much and just try something out. We don't have so much time here in the world, and it's very cliche, but it's incredibly true. So try something out and see if it works. And if it doesn't, the risk has never been so small to try something, to try to build your own business. You don't need an office. You just need a name, and that's it. And you try something out, you change when it doesn't work, when it doesn't work, and you go on with what works. So the risk has never been smaller to do fun stuff, to build your own company. So why not try?
That's a great point, and I know I'm sure you know a bit about actuaries, but one of the things I posted about recently, I've been doing more of these tweets. I talked about the fact that actuaries, for instance, are very, very well trained in risk, but ironically, they tend to be, not all, but for the most part, tend to be on the closer to the risk averse side of the spectrum. So I think it's very ironic that sometimes we compartmentalize the knowledge we have. Like we understand the risk, we understand how to manage, mitigate, optimize, if we're in a situation where we're doing it for a company or another stakeholder. But when it comes to our individual lives, sometimes we're unable to make that connection and say, oh yeah, like you said, the risk, relatively speaking to other periods in time, where now, we're on this platform. Like in 20, 30 years ago, I would have had to have a broadcast deal for us to be able to be doing this, right? Because the technology just wasn't there. So
exactly. It's so easy to build connections and to learn from each other, right? Like we're doing now. And I think it's fantastic. It's so easy to meet people all around the world. And whatever your specific interest is, there will be people that you can meet who are passionate about it, right? And like you said, 20 years ago, it would be hard for us to connect. We would never meet at any time, or it would be a big coincidence or a big conference or something like that. But otherwise, it would never happen. And so it's a great time to understand what you're passionate about and to connect with other people and to try build something. Because I also believe that that's where we're going as an economy, that more people become independent and big companies will decrease or stop to exist even.
Sure.
Because people are more independent and contributing in their, according to their own unique skill set and interest. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I certainly think that there's and I have this conversation all the time with my friends. I still have a lot of friends, and I'm technically still in corporate, but like certainly there's some people who just prefer which is interesting, because I was going to say the security, stability, but those things no longer, at least in the traditional sense, they no longer exist. So the perceived sense of security, stability, routine, consistency, I think there are some people who are inclined to that. But to your point, I think it's the people who might have felt trapped or felt limited by by those structures in the past, and now have the opportunity to try something different. That's where you'll see some of the change happening, for sure. So, and I think that, to your point, there's quite a few people who are in that group. So interesting times to come. So I know, so I know we don't have that many people on the call, but I always like to give people like a minute or maybe like a few seconds to ask to see if they have any questions. And if not, then we'll go to that last one. So yeah, anyone, I know we have a few people on the call. If you're seeing this and you have any live questions for Gilbert, good opportunity to ask a question here. And so yeah, we'll give them a few seconds. So let's see, nothing yet. Okay, and as always, I look out for that, and we can always circle back to that when people, if you have any questions, anyone, type it in the chat and we can circle back to that. But yeah, this is the last formal question. Actually, before we do that, just real quickly, I was curious to know, are there any sections in the book that were your favorite to create, like as you're coming up with the book itself? Are there any parts that stick out to you that you really just like relative to others, or curious to know?
Yeah, to me, the first section was most interesting to write, because that's when I built this this algorithm metaphor that I use throughout the book. So your behavior patterns are basically like an algorithm. So if that happens, then you do that automatically, right? It's something you've learned in your childhood or later on in life. By becoming more aware of your own algorithms, you will understand yourself better, and communicating with others is also much easier.
Yeah, that was a very clever use of the word algorithm. I'm sure that perks up the ears of a lot of analytical thinkers. So that's good choice of words there. So we did actually get two questions. So the easiest one to answer is, what is the name of the book? The book is called People Skills for Analytical Thinkers. And where can they find that, Gilbert?
Yeah, best place on Amazon. So almost everything goes through Amazon. You can find it there. So people skills for analytical thinkers.
Great. And we also had a second question. What is your favorite book?
My favorite book. Wow, I read quite a lot. I would say
Good.
40 books a year. I try to read. Some of my favorite books are The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. It's one of the first ones I've read in that category, and it really brought a lot to me because it made me understand how much influence we have on our life, how much that we're not victims, and we can actually make a change if you're willing to look in the mirror and make a change in the world. So that one is definitely among my favorites.
That's a good one, and yeah, that's one of the first one. I think my mom had put me onto that one a number of years ago, so that's definitely a classic. And kind of related to that, which is the last question that we had was, and then also thank you for plugging the reading. I've been trying to plug the reading, for a number of years now. Just so much, your perspectives can open up. I mean, certainly for like actuaries, one of the challenges is that we have professional exams. So we have to spend a lot of time just studying for those. But, I always encourage people, to the extent you can, certainly try to get some reading in, something that's not prescribed, something that's going to kind of help open up your mind. So yeah, the last one I had formally is, who is someone who inspires you and why?
I would say there are two people. One is Seth Godin. I've read a lot by him. He's a really great author. He's a marketeer. His background is marketing, but he has so much to say about curiosity, about creativity, and about education as well. And he's totally with us on the fact that we need to include more people skills and communication in high school early on. So that's number one. Number two is Gary Vee, and he's a very outspoken entrepreneur. He's all over the place. He has a really different personality compared to mine. But what he does is he always promotes empathy. And he, in the first place, in the beginning, he came across as quite wild to me and quite direct and very in your face. But actually what he promotes is a lot of empathy and understanding what matters to other people and listening. And those are key attributes that you can use in the workplace and at home, of course. So I love that about him.
Those are such great answers. I've watched many Seth Godin videos. I know he has I forget the name of his institute, but I've seen many of his videos on marketing and how he thinks of digital marketing. He's a brilliant guy, and I know he's done a TED Talk as well. And Gary Vee, we at Maverick Actuary, we are big on Gary Vee. I've actually met him in person. I have a picture with him. He's a great
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I met him at a conference. He was and funny enough, at the time when I met him, it was 2017. At that time, I didn't know who he was because, I wasn't I was using Instagram and I was on social, but I just honestly didn't know who he was. But since then, I've been a Gary Vee disciple. I've lived kind of, preached empathy and all that stuff too. So yeah, we are definitely on the same page in terms of Gary Vee. So,
awesome. Yeah, cool to hear that you're also so passionate about Gary Vee's message.
Yes, he's a legend. Yeah. So anyone else just checking one last chance for questions before we wrap this up? I know a few people just joined. Any last questions for Gilbert? And I'm guessing, would it be okay if what's the best way to reach out to you for anyone who's going to see this and may want to ask you questions or anything?
You can do so on Instagram, of course. I'm not very active on Instagram. I'm more active on LinkedIn, so you can find me there. If you are able to spell my last name, you'll be able to find it.
You don't have to worry about that. Actually, in the debrief, I do add your name, so you don't have to worry about that. I'll make sure that it's spelled the right way.
Perfect.
To find you.
Yeah, sounds good. And also on my website, mindspeaking.com, I have several free materials, so you can read part 1 of my book for free, and I have some free email courses that you can also check out. So I hope that's also helpful for you.
That is excellent, and I will also be checking that out because I haven't had much time to explore your website. I'm actually building my own, but yeah, I'll certainly check it out. So yes, thank you so much, Gilbert, for joining. Now this is great, and I've known last year I think we met through Growth Actuary, and just been wanting to speak to you for some time. So thank you for making the time. I know you're a busy man, and yeah, thank you everyone for joining. The recording is going to be posted subsequently. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the day, everyone. And Gilbert, thank you so much. And let's keep in touch. I know that we'll be in touch.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yes.
Thank you so much for inviting me and for the refreshing conversation. I learned some new things as well, and that's always my goal. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day as well. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.